Hello everyone, this is part 29 of What If Naruto Came Back to Claim His Family's Name, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. I have to fight my best friend, thought both Liz and Kushina as they walked down the stairs toward the arena when they reached the bottom. Ino had jumped up and now stood next to her son as her daughter and her best friend's daughter now stood across from each other just like she and Sakura did years ago. Mother, didn't you and Aunt Sakura fight each other during your first Chunin exams? Asked Fugaku. Yeah, we fought until we were both knockout. Said Ino, you see, we were both in love with your father, that is why we fought so hard. When she was finished, Ino looked at her son and saw something she hardly ever saw on her son's face: confusion. When we were kids, both me and Sakura had huge crushes on your father, while mine turned to true love. Sakura fell in love with Naruto. I see, so this is like a replay of what happened during in the past between you and Aunt Sakura? Asked Fugaku. Yes. The only real difference is that they aren't fighting over a boy. Said Ino. How can you be so sure? Maybe they like the same boy, said Fugaku. Son, if you don't know who they like, then you are oblivious to when affection is directed at someone. Said Ino as Kankuro walked up and stood between Liz and Kushina with Mai at her side. Now I know that you two are teammates, but right now you two must fight for the same spot, said Kankuro as he looked at the young girls. Do you understand? Yes, said both Kushina and Liz. Okay then, ready, begin, said Kankuro as Liz whipped out her sword and activated her level 1 Sharingan. While she did this, Kushina pulled out a kunai and formed 2 shadow clones. Always with the clones, Kushina, said Liz as she raised her sword up to eye level and pointed it at her friend. What can I say, said one of the Kushina. Quote. Like father, said another Kushina. Quote. Like daughter, the final Kushina said as all three of them charged forward toward Liz. Liz used her sword to block the attacks from all three Kushinas, but she was being forced back. Looks like your daughter has improved, Naruto, said Gaara as Liz kept retreating under Kushina's attack. Yes, and I am so proud of her for that, but she still has a lot to learn, said Naruto as Liz jumped over Kushina before running through hand signs. Fire style. Great fireball jutsu, yelled Liz as a giant fireball engulfed half the total arena including the 3 Kushinas. I had no idea that Liz could do that, said Fugaku as Ino noticed just a little bit of shook behind his voice. Just because she likes having me train her doesn't mean your father doesn't train her too, said Ino. In fact, I believe that is a bigger fireball jutsu than even you can make, son. I disagree, mother, said Fugaku as Ino picked up just a little bit of anger in her son's voice. As the fire S down, Liz landed on the ground, however out of the fire stepped an unburned Kushina with Mai at her side. Did you forget that Mai is a fire-style fox, giving her control over the flames? Asked Kushina. No, but it got rid of the clones, didn't it? Said Liz. However, suddenly the ground broke open below her and out shot another Kushina that hit Liz so hard that it sent Liz flying toward the ceiling. However, before Liz could hit the ceiling head first, she flipped through the air, hitting the roof with her feet and using her chakra to hold herself up. That was great, Liz, said Kushina with a smile before Liz launched herself at the floor. She did another flip to land on her feet once again. Thank you, Kushina, but now it is time for me to go on the assault, said Liz as she ran through hand signs yet again, only this time the sword turned red hot. Damn, I can feel the heat from here, thought Kushina as she pulled out a second kunai. Liz charged forward, Kushina jumped back into the air to avoid getting cut. Then Liz brought her sword down on Mai, however nothing happened even through the sword had a clean hit. QB, why didn't the sword hurt your daughter? Asked Gaara to the 9-tailed demon fox of fire. Well, during battle a demon fox can channel their chakra into their fur and teeth, making them harder than any metal you humans have. In your terms it is a simple genin level jutsu, said QB as his daughter bit down into Liz's lower leg, holding her still. Liz yelled in pain, causing Ino to flinch. It is so hard to stand here and not help my daughter, thought Ino as Kushina jumped back and threw her kunai at Liz. Somehow Liz opened her eyes and rose her sword to block the incoming kunai, however right before the impact she saw a small slip of paper attached to the end. Explosion tag, yelled Liz as it went off in her face. Liz was forced back into the wall. Lucky for her, Mai had let go of her lower leg so that her leg wasn't missing a large chunk. Yeah, we got her, yelled Ina Kushina as they looked at Liz prone form in a small crater at the wall of the arena. Liz grounded as she stood back up. However, when Liz looked up, even Fugaku's eyes widened. Liz's eyes no longer had a single comma in it but now had two. Looks like your sister reached level 2 in her Sharingan, said Ino. Impressive, but my black Sharingan is better than a level 2 Sharingan, said Fugaku as he crossed his arms. True, but you still haven't learned to use it correctly yet, so it is possible that her Sharingan is better, because she knows how to control it better, said Ino with a grin as her son flinched. I know it's wrong of me to pit my own children against each other, but Fugaku is his father's son. Back on the field, Kushina charged forward with her fist glowing in chakra. However, she was inches away from Liz's face when she was sidestepped, so her fist hit the wall, makes the crater where Liz hit a lot bigger. Nice try, Kushina, said Liz as she placed her sword on Kushina N. However, suddenly Kushina disappeared in a flash of light. Damn, I hate that Haraishin no Jutsu. Yeah, it lets me get out of some tight spaces, said Kushina as Liz turned around and saw Kushina standing there as a ball of chakra started to form in one of her hands. Your daughter knows the Rasengan as well, impressive, said Gaara. Yeah, she can even do the ultimate form of the Rasengan, the golden Rasengan, but Sakura had me forbidden her from doing it because the first time she used it, it almost killed her, said Naruto as Liz put her sword away. So you're using something your dad taught you? Maybe I should do the same, said Liz as she placed one hand down and placed the other on her elbow as electricity danced around her. Liz knows the Chidori, asked a stunned Fugaku. I am King your father. When we get home, I told him I didn't want either of you two knowing that move until you made Chunin. I couldn't control the fact that you taught yourself, but still he should have waited. This is getting dangerous, Kankuro thought as he looked at the two genins still forming their attacks. Up in catwalks, a messenger appeared next to Gaara. Can this wait? Asked Gaara. Sorry sir, but I have to give this message to the Hokage. It just came in from the Leaf Village, said the message as he handed it to Naruto. Thanks, I will look at it after this match, said Naruto as both Kushina and Liz finished forming their attacks. Let's do this, Liz, yelled Kushina as both of them charged forward. Rasengan, Chidori. When the two Eustace hit, a giant explosion sent both Kushina and Liz flying into opposite walls. Naruto was on his feet looking down at his daughter. Please God, let her be okay, thought Naruto as he saw his daughter slowly stand up using the wall itself to hold herself up. Her body was covered with cuts and some blood ran down her right arm. Naruto looked at Liz to see that she was in a similar state before Liz suddenly fell to the ground. That is it, I am calling it. Kushina Namikaze wins, said Kankuro after he said that Kushina slid down the wall into a sitting potion. Naruto did his Haraishin no Jutsu to appear next to his daughter. He knelt down next to her as she looked up into his eyes. Did I do good, Daddy? Asked Kushina, a sweat voice that melted Naruto's heart. You did great, said Naruto as two sand medical ninjas ran up to him. Rest the medics or they will take great care of you. Don't worry, Lord Hokage, your daughter's injuries aren't bad, she should be up and about soon, said the medic. Great, said Naruto as they placed Kushina on a stretcher. Don't worry, Daddy, I will be back soon, just stay here and make sure everyone else does good, said Kushina as the medics lifted the stretcher up. Okay, but remember I love you, said Naruto before kissing his daughter's forehead. Dad, I am not a little girl anymore, said Kushina with a smile. You will always be a little girl to me, said Naruto as they took Kushina away. Naruto looked up to see Liz being taken away as well as Ino was walking toward him. How is she, Ino? Fine, small cuts and a broken arm. How is Kushina? Small cuts, said Naruto. Sorry, Lord Hokage, but you two have to clear the floor for the next match, said Kankuro. Okay then, said Naruto as he jumped back to his seat. Are you going to open the letter now? Asked Gaara as Naruto blinked. Oh, I completely forgot about that, said Naruto as he pulled out the scroll. How you became the Hokage I will never know. Asked Gaara as Naruto opened the scroll and his eyes went wide for a moment before closing again. Still with his eyes closed, Naruto rolled the scroll back up. What is it? It's Tsunade, said Naruto as a single tear ran down his face. She's last night in her sleep. I am sorry my friend, but at least she lived into her late 80s, said Gaara. Yeah, but it still hurts, said Naruto. Do you want me to stop the fight so that you can inform your teams? Asked Gaara. No, but right after this torment is done, I will be taking everyone home to attend the funeral, said Naruto. I am sorry for your loss, said Gaara as the computer picked the next two genin names appeared on the screen. They were both from the Sand Village, so Naruto didn't pay attention to the match. His mind was on his daughter and Tsunade. However, he was brought out of his musing when the next match was picked. Bungo Sand Village vs. Emi Nara Leaf Village. X. Looks like your niece is going fight one of your ninjas, said Naruto. Yeah, I thought this would happen sooner rather than later, said Gaara as Emi walked down toward the field and stood before her uncle. A black-haired sand genin stood across from her. Alright then, are you two ready? Asked Kankuro. Of course I am. I don't care if you're the Kazekage's niece, you are nothing, said Bungo as he pulled off a large pack from his back and slammed it into the ground. I wouldn't underestimate me, but yes I am ready to go, said Emi as she pulled her fan off her back. Alright then, said Kankuro. Begin. The moment the fight started, Bungo's package exploded out, forming a huge puppet. It stood a good 7 feet tall and had 4 arms each with a different bladed weapon. That's it, a puppet? Asked Emi. This puppet was designed by my uncle and it has no weak points, said Bungo as the puppet charged forward, all its weapons swinging. Emi jumped back, avoiding the attack until she came into contact with the wall. When she hit the wall, she used her fan to help her into the air. She landed on the other side of the arena. You can't run from it forever. In the end, my puppet will win. Yes, your puppet will win this fight, for me, said Emi. See, you made one fatal mistake. What? Bungo asked. You saw my fan and assumed that I am going to fight like a sand ninja, said Emi. I know that your dad is Form the Leaf. So get on with it, I don't have all day, said Bungo as he moved his hand so that the puppet stood behind him. Do you know anything about my clan? Asked Emi. No, and I don't care, said Bungo. You should always learn everything you can about your opponent because knowledge is power and I know things about you, said Emi. Like what? I know that you are left-handed, you are using your left hand to control the arms and the right to move the legs, said Emi. You don't know anything, said Bungo. Well, let's find out, said Emi as she raised her left hand, and to Bungo's surprise his left hand also moved. What? Remember when I said knowledge is power? If you had known that I am from the Nara clan and that the Nara clan has a jutsu that give the user the ability to control another person, you may have stood a chance. If you had known that this jutsu uses a shadow to take control, you wouldn't have stood still as long as you had, said Emi as her fingers moved, causing Bungo's fingers to move, which caused the chakra strings controlling the puppet to move, which caused one of the puppet's hands to rise. I should thank you for bringing the puppet so close, it saves me a lot of trouble. Now give up or I will use your own puppet to KO you. Fine, you win, I surrender, said Bungo. Good, said Emi as she released her shadow possession jutsu. Emi Nara moves on to the tournament, said Kankuro with a smile as Emi walked up to her team and her mother. Good work Emi, said Temari as she hugged her eldest daughter. Thanks, Mom, said Emi. Now all we have to do is get your father to help me with my training for the exams. Don't worry about that, I know how to control the little boy, said Temari. I don't want to know how you control him, said Emi. She did great, said Naruto. She acts like her mother did at her age, said Gaara as the next two matches went fast. They were both sand versus leaf fights. Both fights were won by the Sand Village over the last two Leaf Ninjas form Lee's team. So we only have 5 matches left. Yeah, I swear each generation is stronger than the next. Some of these matches are the equal of what we did in the finals, said Naruto. Who is left, anyhow? We have 6 from your village, 2 of the ice haven't gone yet and 4 from my village, said Gaara as suddenly a pair of arms wrapped around Naruto. Hey, Dad, said Kushina. Naruto looked at his daughter and smiled. True, her face and arms were covered with bandages, but she was still smiling. Shouldn't you be resting? Asked Naruto. You are one to talk, Dad. Grandma Tsunade told me about how you always escaped from the hospital to train. I escaped only to watch the fights, said Kushina as Naruto looked down. What? Gaara, is there somewhere we can go? I want to tell my daughter, asked Naruto as Kushina raised an eyebrow. Behind you there is a small meeting room, said Gaara as Naruto stood up and walked into the room, followed by Kushina. It was a simple meeting room, a couple of chairs around a large table. Naruto sat down on one as Kushina sat down next to her dad. What is it, Dad? Asked Kushina. Kushina, before your match ended, I got a message from your mother, said Naruto. Did something happen to Grandma Tsunade? Asked Kushina with worry in her voice as Naruto nodded his head. Yes, said Naruto. I don't really know how to tell you this, but last night Tsunade's in her sleep. So Grandma Tsunade is gone? Asked Kushina with tears in her eyes. Naruto knelt down and hugged his daughter as she started to cry. Just let it all out, said Naruto as his daughter started to really cry, and soon Naruto had a large wet spot on his shoulder. Naruto just knelt there until his daughter's heaving stopped. Then he pulled away to look at his daughter in her puffy eyes. Now I know it is hard, but we have to go back out there. But Dad, Grandma Tsunade is said Kushina. Yes, and we are ninjas. Know that Tsunade lived longer than most ninjas. Hell, I've lived longer than most ninjas. At the moment we are living through the longest time frame with no wars, but sometime there will be another war and people will less. As ninjas we have to put that behind us until our work is done, said Naruto. Now when we get home we will bury Grandma Tsunade and there we can mourn. I understand, Daddy, said Kushina. That's my girl, said Naruto as he used his jacket to wipe away the last of Kushina's tears. Now go out, join your friends, but please don't tell any of them. I don't want them to think about it while they are fighting, and that goes double if they are against those ice ninjas. Yeah, those ice people are crazy, said Kushina as Gaara entered the room. Naruto, I thought you would want to know that the ice girl, Aika, is going to fight Anko Hatake, said Gaara. Thanks, Gaara, said Naruto before looking at his daughter. Don't worry, I will not tell them, said Kushina. I know, it's just that they will ask about your eyes, said Naruto as Kushina rolled her eyes before she formed a hand sign and suddenly she was back to normal. A genjutsu can cover it up, said Kushina before she disappeared in a flash of light as Naruto retook his seat. So what did I miss? Asked Naruto. Just 2 of my ninjas beating 2 of yours, said Gaara as the white-haired female Ice Genin and the silver-haired Anko Hatake took the field. Naruto took a look around and saw only 3 other leaf ninjas standing there waiting for their turns, Fugaku, Kib and Chu. Along with them were 2 sand ninjas and 1 last ice ninja. With that, Naruto looked down at his sensei's daughter as she stood across from the ice ninja. All right then, are you 2 ready? Asked Kankuro as the 2 girls nodded their heads. All right then, begin. With that, Anko jumped back and reached into her ninja pouch, pulling out 3 long needles. Meanwhile, Aika just stood there doing nothing. Aren't you going to move? Asked Anko. When I need to, said Aika as Anko grinned just like her mother does. So be it, said Anko as she threw all 3 of her needles at her. Of the 3 of them, all of them hit the ice ninja in the end. However, nothing happened. Those were filled with poisons, weren't they? Asked Aika. Yeah, snake venom, said Anko as she threw 3 more needles into different points in her enemy's joints. What is going on? There is enough venom on each of those to bring down even a full-grown ninja. True, but you see I have an interesting bloodline limit. When I channel chakra into my skin it turns the water in my skin into solid ice. Nothing you have can penetrate it, said Aika as Anko pulled out another needle. You said your skin is made of ice but not your eyes, yelled Anko as she threw another needle, this time heading toward her head. However, she still didn't move as the needle impacted her eye. However, instead of going into Aika's body it fell to the floor with a cluck. I can turn all the liquid in my body to ice if I want to, and since most of the human body is made out of water, I can turn almost everything to ice, said Aika as she charged forward faster than Anko or for the matter all the genin could follow. The next moment Anko was on her knees screaming as Aika held one of her arms. What is she doing? Asked Kushina, leaning over the rail as both Uchihas looked at her. Kushina, when did you get back? Asked Fugaku. Since the beginning of the match. Now what is she doing to her? Said Kushina as her friend screamed out in pain once again. Do you give up? Asked Aika as Anko screamed again. Never, yelled Anko. Fine, it's your S-body, said Aika as she reached her hand out for Anko's N. That is it, this match is over, yelled Kankuro as Aika let go of Anko. That is when the genin could see it. The skin on Anko's arm was frosted over and wasn't moving. What did you do to her? I turned the blood in her arm to ice, but since I feel like giving some mercy to this weakling, said Aika as she placed her hand back on Anko's arm. A second later Anko's arm was back to normal, and with that she walked away. Are you okay? Asked Ino as she jumped down. Yeah, it stings but at least I can move it now, said Anko. Still, you should have it looked at, said Ino as medical ninjas walked up. Okay then, said Anko as she walked out of the arena. Already the next two names were up on the screen. Chuakamaiki, Leaf Village vs. Fuyuta, Sand Village. X. Everyone watched as Chu and Fuyuta walked down to the field. Chu was dressed similar to Chuji during his Chunin years while Fuyuta was dressed in a simple pair of sand-colored pants and the same color t-shirt. Naruto, I believe that Chu is going to win this fight, said Gaara as Naruto looked at him. Why do you say that? Asked Naruto. Simply because this genin has no real combat weapons or jutsu, said Gaara as Naruto raised an eyebrow. Then what does he have to fight with? Asked Naruto. Time, which is all he has, said Gaara as Kankuro began the match. Within a moment, the arena changed, it was now a forest. So he is a genjutsu-type ninja, said Naruto as Chu looked around the woods. But still, he can move around the jutsu and attack from an unseen angle. No, he can't. His clan's genjutsu is almost unbreakable, but he can't move, said Gaara. All he can do is hide and hope that his enemy runs out of chakra. No offense Gaara, but in a place like this there isn't a big area to hide, said Naruto as Chu's body grew into a large ball as he started to roll through the genin's jutsu in search of Fuyuta. Why do you think I said Fuyuta will lose? He has to be paired up with his squad to be a real threat, said Gaara as Chu kept trying to find the sand ninja. Come out you coward, yelled Chu. Show yourself. Suddenly, a voice came out from every corner of the woods. I wish I could, I would have finished this a long time ago, said Fuyuta. Then I will just have to find you, yelled Chu as he once again started to roll around the rest of the arena. Meanwhile on the catwalks, Chu's sensei Rick Uzumaki shook his head. Looks like your student isn't using his head. Something he shares with his sensei, said Minuto with a grin as he looked at his rival. Now isn't the time. No matter how much I try to tell him brute strength isn't everything, he will not listen to me, said Rick. He just calls me a blind Namikaze supporter and goes about his own way. If he doesn't listen then why let him even come to these exams? Asked Minuto. I hope that if he got his ass handed to him then he would start listening to people, said Rick as he looked at his cousin sitting and watching the fight. I see you're wondering why he is here as well, said Minuto as Rick shook his head. No, he is here because of the ice ninjas. What I want to know is what is on that scroll he got, said Rick as his student stopped his attack and shrank back to normal. When he did Chu fell to his knees and started breathing heavily. As the woods disappeared and Fuyuta was revealed he was hanging upside down from the ceiling. He dropped down and stood next to Kankuro. Alright then, since Chu can't fight anymore, Fuyuta is the, said Kankuro, however before he could finish, Chu reached into his vest and pulled out a kunai and threw it. The kunai hit its mark, Fuyuta's heart. Both Naruto's and Gaara's eyes widened as Fuyuta fell to the floor. Kankuro reached down and felt Fuyuta's plus. He looked up at the two cages and shook his head. He is gone. Chu, why did you do that? Yelled Naruto as Chu glared at Naruto. It wasn't over yet, and besides, isn't that what you Namikaze do? K people for no reason. Said Chu as Gaara joined the argument. As much as I hate to say it, he is right, the match wasn't over. Even though it was without honor he wins, said Gaara. Chuakamaiki, you killed an ally ninja and brought shame upon not only your clan but your village, said Naruto. Shame. You're one to talk, Namikaze, said Chu as he turned his back on Naruto and walked away as the medics took the body away. As Chu walked up the stairs, he passed Ino, Fugaku and Kushina. He stopped for a second and looked at Kushina. I hope I get you in the tournament, Namikaze, because if I do, I will make sure your father and mother lose a daughter just like I lost a father and mother. All three of them were wide-eyed as he walked past them. All the while Naruto was watching. Believe me, Chu, you will be sorry if you have to fight my daughter, thought Naruto as the next two names came across the screen. Kib Inuzuka, Leaf Village vs. Hayao, Sand Village, said Kankuro as both ninjas walked toward the field. I am so sorry about Fuyuta, Gaara, said Naruto as he sat down. It wasn't your fault, but you have to do something about this Akamaki clan hating your clan thing. That can only lead to more trouble, said Gaara. However, at the moment I think you should worry about Fugaku Uchiha. He has to fight the last of the Ice Ninja. Yeah, and after that, I have to tell them about Tsunade, said Naruto as the fight between Hayao and Kib began with a bang. Hayao threw a wave of kunai, all with explosive tags on them. However, Kib and Akam ran between the blasts, throwing their own kunais. For a while, the two genin traded blows, but suddenly, Hayao ran through some hand signs and a gust of wind filled the arena, forcing Kib into the wall. In a second Hayao was on him. Hayao was holding Kib against the wall, a kunai pressed against his N. I should kill you to make our village even, said Hayao. Now, what do you have to say for your life? Woof, said Kib as Hayao raised an eyebrow before Kib suddenly turned into a small black dog as a loud voice filled the air. Fang over fang, Hayao spun around to see a tornado-like attack within inches of hitting him. Kib's attack sent dust flying into the air. However, when the dust settled, Kib was standing over Hayao, but suddenly Kib turned into a black dog and the dog turned into Kib. I say you almost had me, said Kib as he held his ribs. And I think I broke a rib or two. Well, you passed, so the medics can take a look at you, said Kankuro as the medics took both of them away. Alright, Fugaku Uchiha and Bunker of the Ice, you two are the final match. So come down here. I would like to get home soon. Be careful, Fugaku, said Kushina as Fugaku walked down the stairs with his hands in his pockets. Don't worry, I have this guy, no problem, said Fugaku as Ino rolled her eyes. Kushina, sometimes I wished he wasn't so shy, said Ino. Well, Aunt Ino, I heard you say that Fugaku is just like Uncle Sasuke was when he was our age, and Uncle Sasuke doesn't seem that shy now, so maybe with time Fugaku will not be so shy, said Kushina as Ino nodded her head. True, however Sasuke only became level-headed after your father beat some sense into him, said Ino as her son stood across from the black-haired ninja form the ice. Alright, I am sure you all have been watching so you know the rules, said Kankuro as both of them nodded. Alright, begin. The moment the fight started, Fugaku reached into his ninja pouch and pulled out 6 kunai and threw them at the ice ninja. However, the kunai didn't go at Bunker, they went around him impacting the wall behind him. You missed, said Bunker. No, I didn't, said Fugaku as he started to move his hands fast and furious. Bunker looked at Fugaku's fingers and saw chakra strings just before he was pulled back against the wall by the chakra strings. Got you. That is what you think, said Bunker. Let's see, you're up against the wall with chakra strings across your body so that you can't move, said Fugaku as suddenly 2 blades shot out from under Bunker's travel cloak. The blades cut the strings holding him against the wall. Bunker stepped forward as he took off his cloak to show 2 arm braces with what appeared to be a box hanging below them, and out of that box came a good 2 feet long blade. Bunker rolled his end before both blades folded backwards so that the blades ran down his forearms. Interesting weapons. They will be the last you see. I am not as merciful as my female teammate and I will not fail like my other teammate, said Bunker. Well then, looks like I will just have to kick it up a notch, said Fugaku as he closed his eyes and turned on his black Sharingan. I see your bloodline limit is different than your sister's, said Bunker. This is the most powerful Sharingan, said Fugaku. Yes, but it still relies on your eyes. If you take that way you are powerless, said Bunker as suddenly everything went black. I am trained to K without my eyes, so seeing is not needed. Crap, how am I going to deal with this? He probably finds his targets by sound, thought Fugaku as he stood perfectly still. Remember what Dad told us, when all else fails think back and see how you dealt with something in the past. But I have never dealt with not being able to see, but Dad Sensei has. It was at some bridge and he used the smell of his own blood and ninja hounds to track down the enemy. But I don't have hounds, so I can't use smell, but maybe I can use sound against him. With that, Fugaku reached into his pockets and pulled out 10 kunai. He threw all his kunai in a circle around himself, and on each of them was a chakra string that he attached to one of his fingers. Now I wait. I will only have one chance at this. Aunt Ino, do you think Fugaku is okay? Asked Kushina. I don't know, but I hope so, said Ino as she looked into the darkness below and prayed that her son was safe. In the darkness, Fugaku sat waiting until suddenly his right ring finger moved. Got you, thought Fugaku as he ran through hand signs. When he finished, fire shot down 2 strings. Okay, I have him trapped between these 2 kunai. Now to find him. I have 3 kunai, 10 stars and 50 feet of string left. I have to make them count. He pulled out his last 3 kunai and put the strings on them. He threw the last 3 kunai into the area. Now I wait again. Suddenly another of the strings went off, and luckily for Fugaku it was between one of the ones already on fire. With that he threw his stars, and as soon as he did, the jutsu dropped, showing the arena. There stood Bunker with a ninja star halfway in each arm just above the elbow. There you are, said Fugaku as he pulled out his sword and looked into Bunker's eyes. Suddenly Bunker found himself tied to a tree in a forest, unable to move. However, unlike normal woods, everything was in black and white. What in the world? Bunker asked as Fugaku appeared sword in hand. Interesting thing about my black Sharingan. I can create a world where I control everything including time itself, said Fugaku. So I give you your last chance, give up now. I am Form the Ice, I will never give up, yelled Bunker as Fugaku lowered his head. Then what happens next is your own doing, said Fugaku as he espered his sword into Bunker's chest. Now if you don't give up now, I will do this over and over again. Do your worst, yelled Bunker. So be it, said Fugaku as another of him appeared and espered him in a different part of the chest. I give up, yelled Bunker as he fell to his knees. Alright then, Fugaku Uchiha wins, said Kankuro as Bunker looked around the arena. But I have been under attack for 7 days without rest, didn't you people see it? Asked Bunker. You spent 7 days in my world, only a second passed here, said Fugaku as the medics took him away. Alright, I want everyone who won down on the field now. We need to pick who is fighting against who, said Kankuro. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.